In this episode of Pop Culture Weekly, I talk with the horror icon Bruce Campbell and Julia Bowen all about their series Hysteria and the incredible cast of the incredible film Exhibiting Forgiveness, including André Holland, John Earl Jelks, and the creator, producer, director himself, Titus Kaphar. Let's go!
Welcome to Pop Culture Weekly with Kyle McMahon from iHeartRadio. Your pop culture news, views, reviews, and celebrity interviews on all the movies, TV, music, and pop culture you crave weekly. Here's Kyle McMahon.
Hello and welcome to Pop Culture Weekly with Kyle McMahon. I, of course, am Kyle McMahon. And this episode, we're in spooky season. But this episode has got some spookiness, and it's also got some incredible interviews, both from the spooky part and the dramatic art part. I speak with the cast of Exhibiting Forgiveness, which you've heard me talk about this film. It stars Andra and André Holland and John Earl Jelks. It is directed by, conceived by, produced by the incredible Titus Kaphar, and we're going to get into that. I also talk with horror icon, legend, Scream King, maybe? The one and only Bruce Campbell himself. I also speak with Julie Bowen, and I speak with Julie and Bruce about their new series, Hysteria, which is available exclusively on Peacock. The series also premiered on Sci-Fi and USA Network on October 18th. But it is a wonderfully crazy, horror-filled show about the satanic panic of the 80s, and a quarterback disappears, which causes whispers of the occult in the town and satanic influences, and this heavy metal band called Death Crunch decide to kind of capitalize on it. It is really funny. It's really scary. It's a great show. And I mean, it's got freaking Julie Bowen, Modern Family queen, Claire Dunphy herself, and it's got the one and only Bruce Campbell. So, you can't go wrong with either of those. So, let's start up first with Julie Bowen. You may know Julie from her incredible work, Emmy-winning work. She's won multiple Emmys for her 250 episodes as Claire Dunphy on Modern Family. She's awesome, and I love her in Hysteria. So let's dive right into my conversation with the one and only Julie Bowen. Thank you so much for joining me, Julie. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kyle. It's a pleasure.
Pleasure's mine. So first of all, I love Hysteria. I'm a huge horror buff. I'm a huge comedy buff, obviously, and this I feel kind of beautifully marries so many genres here. What was it that drew you to the project?
I think exactly what you just said. The fact that it's not straight horror. I don't love straight horror. I don't love gruesome things. This felt very psychologically terrifying and fun because the aspects with the music in the 80s, and I love that sort of mashup between the pop thriller and the psychological questioning of this woman's sanity. That was the fun part for me.
And did you, it's interesting that you say that, because looking at your film, your filmography, your body of work, you have Hoopy Halloween, and, the kind of genre projects that you've done are not really, or none of them are straight up, horror or whatever. They all have some kind of element of something else, and so that is purposeful for you.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I was lucky enough to play a sitcom mom for 11 years, and I love Claire Dunphy and always will. But as an actress, you do want to do something different. And you also I was taking a huge risk. But when I read the pilot for Hysteria, I thought, oh, she's a mom and the kids have all the fun stuff. And then when I got to the end of it and realized, oh no, there's so much fun stuff for Linda. It's just very unexpected that I thought, I think maybe the audience can go along on that journey. It's hard sometimes for people to see characters from popular sitcoms take on a different role. They're like, why are you doing that? My dad was very mad that Sophia made herself ugly for Griselda. And I said, Dad, I'll be sure to tell her. So sometimes it's hard for people to see you outside of a role when you've done it for so long. But I feel like this one, it subverts itself. But I think the viewers will go along for the ride.
So do I. And, of course, you won 2 Emmys for your role. And obviously, congratulations. But I do find it interesting, and I think it's necessary when you have, actors, creators in general, that you need to kind of spread your wings sometimes and itch another, or scratch another itch, and so you've done that beautifully. And I love the mishmash of, I love the nostalgia, the 80s thing, and the marriage with the music and the fears that were very real throughout many periods of history with this satanic panic and all of that. And it really, kind of smartly melds so many numerous things to work as an excellent series,
Thank you. I mean, you said it all. Do you want to do the rest of my interviews today? Yes, it is. It is not straight horror. It is a real genre bender, and I hope that invites a lot of people in to watch. Even chickens like me who are terrified of a jump scare. This is not straight horror. It is not straight comedy, but it really does blend a whole bunch of elements, and it does give me a chance to, scratch a different itch. Speaking
of jump scares, did anybody ever try to scare you on set?
On set?
Mm-hmm.
The only person who's ever tried to scare me purposely are my children, and then I would play their iPads when they were little, and they know now. When they come in the house, they go, Mom, it's me. Mom, it's me, as they walk the whole house, because if they scare me, I'm done for about an hour. Ellen DeGeneres loved scaring me. Loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Loved it. Didn't love it. I love Ellen, but didn't love that. No, they would not. They knew how it was kind of hard to be as crazy as Linda is. And it was psychologically trying. So if somebody had scared me, I think I would have, I don't know, I might have punched them.
Well, I love that your fellow actors and crew and everything recognized that and left you alone for this project.
Yeah, when you see the last 2 episodes, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But I get put in some positions as an actress and as a character that were trying. None of that was CGI'd. And when you see it, you'll go, oh God, I hope they were nice to you at the end of the day. And they were very nice.
Thank you, Julie, so much. It's a pleasure to talk to you. And I can't wait for everybody to see Hysteria so I can talk about it with people.
Great. Thank you, Kyle. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye.
Thanks. Julie Bowen, love her. She is hysterically funny, and I love her in Hysteria, which you can watch right now on Peacock or USA or Sci-Fi. So, all right, next up, horror icon. Bruce Campbell has been on my bucket list of people I want to interview since I was a kid. And he's best known for his role as Ash Williams in the Evil Dead franchise. He's also been in Maniac Cop, Bubba Hotep, The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr., Hercules, The Legendary Journeys, and Xena Warrior Princess. He played Sam Axe in Burn Notice on USA for years and years. And he's done so freaking much. Books, movies, games, TV series, all of it. He is a horror icon, an industry icon, and I am so excited to talk to the one and only Bruce Campbell. Thank you so much for joining me, Bruce. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Kyle. I happened to be in the neighborhood that I'd stop in.
I love it. So, first of all, congratulations on Hysteria. I really love the series. I love how it genre bends, and it's so enjoyable. What drew you, the legendary Bruce Campbell, to Hysteria?
If it's horror, I get real picky. I get pickier as an old guy, but with horror, I'm real picky. And it has to be, it's the words. As an actor, I would do a movie called Maniac Cop. Today, would I do the movie? I don't know. But in 1980, whatever, yeah, let's do a movie called Maniac Cop. So your tastes change over time. So in this case, if it's horror, the agent sends a script, it's horror, comedy, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, sure. You read it because they're submitting it. And look, it's NBC Universal. This is Peacock. Burn Notice, Hercules. I actually do have history with these people. So I'm like, let me take a look. And the words jumped out at me. I play the chief of police of this small town in 80s Michigan. And I'm from Michigan. I knew Michigan in the 80s. I knew small towns. So it really was authentic. And it was a fresh approach. And I thought it was written kind of for adults. Mm-hmm. If that makes any sense, rather than just trying to go for simple, quick scares or, cheap, whatever. It's good. There's a lot of psycho horror, and the psycho horror is the best kind because you don't know. You're like, is it real or is it not real? And my character has to do the same thing. Is it real or is it not real?
Yeah. And it really is such a pleasure. Obviously I'm a horror buff, and it's such a pleasureful watch. It's the 80s aesthetic, the marriage with the music, everything just kind of beautifully blends into place. And there's so much, especially today, so much horror content and horror adjacent content and genre content that I watch anyway. But this really truly is.
Would you call this horror or horror adjacent?
I would say it's kind of a mixture.
It's in and out, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a mixture of it does. You're right on the money. It kind of mixes in and out. It's very well done, and that's why I love it so much. And it plays up on the satanic panic, and there's so many elements going on there that really just make it enjoyable for not just.
And you don't have to make up the satanic panic; it was real,
right?
Meaning the panic was real,
right? Yes.
Was the satanic part of it real? That's for theologians to debate,
right?
But very few court cases of actual demonic. They came up with a phrase, demonic something, possession or demonic. There's always creeps doing bad things to children, right? Yes. That's not going to change. But a lot of things got rolled up into that weren't that. And so the complaint that a lot of officials had is that diverted time and resources away from actual problems that children were having, rather than dealing with all these perceived problems of my kid's going to be taken away into a satanic cult and brainwashed and all that.
Yeah.
So it's fun. We and small towns, by the way, small towns aren't current. So this is set in the 80s. It really is the 70s. Small towns are an extra decade behind. So this is a good town to do this with. If you're going to mess with a town, you might as well mess with a small Michigan town in the 80s because they're not ready for this.
Yeah. And let me ask you quickly, any update on the Evil Dead franchise?
Yeah, we got a couple more in the hopper. The last one made the most money it ever made of any of the Evil Dead movies. So we'd be kind of idiots to not pursue that. So, we have more in the pipeline.
I love it. Can't wait. And I can't wait for everybody to see Hysteria. It is so good. And I'm saying that not just as a horror buff. All the horror buffs should watch it. But it's just a great series. It really is. And it's perfect for this time of year. And I love it. So thank you. The legendary Bruce Campbell. Hysteria exclusively on Peacock. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Bruce Campbell. I cannot believe that I interviewed Bruce Campbell. Ash him himself, Ash Williams. It's just like a dream come true for me. You have no idea. So I'm so excited about that. Let's take a break real quick, and then we're going to shift gears and discuss the incredible new film, Exhibiting Forgiveness, with Titus Kaphar, André Holland, John Earl Jelks, and Andra. We'll be back in 60 seconds. Thank you for sticking around and supporting our sponsors who make Pop Culture Weekly happen each and every week. They allow me to do what I do for you. They allow me to do these great interviews and videos and social media and posts and reviews, and I thank you for supporting them just like you support me. All right, we're shifting gears here for the back half of the episode. Exhibiting Forgiveness is such an incredible film. It is conceived, directed by, produced by Titus Kaphar, who Titus is an incredible, incredible artist. He is a American contemporary painter. He deals a lot, primarily, I would say, with black subjects, African-American subjects, and some of his paintings are in MoMA, Yale University Art Gallery, the Seattle Art Museum, Brooklyn Museum, and more, all over the world. He kind of rose to prominence with the Vesper Project, which was about a fictional black family in the 19th century that is able to pass for white. And so the entire project, paintings, multimedia, is all this incredible installation where you could walk through this 19th century house. It's really, really just mind-boggling how his brain works. He's so just, he is art. This is his first feature film, his directorial debut, Exhibiting Forgiveness, and he lined up quite the cast. André Holland, Andra, John Earl Jelks, and Anjanou Ellis-Taylor, who we had on a few episodes ago. But basically, the film revolves around this black artist who's kind of rising to prominence, and then his success is, threatened by the return of his long-absent, problematic father and what comes from that. And it looks at how family and close relationships can affect every part of our lives, whether we realize it or not. And so it's just an incredible, incredible film. I know I keep saying it's an incredible film. It is an incredible film, and please go see it. So we're going to start with Titus himself, and he can set the tone for the rest of our interview. So let's just jump right into my interview with the one and only Titus Kaphar.
Thank you so much, Titus, for speaking with me. I really appreciate it.
It's nice to meet you, Kyle. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. The film is absolutely incredible. Your body of work, I wonder, I know you've done a short before, but as a narrative, feature, writer-director, this is your first. Why was this story important for you to tell?
Kyle, that's a really good question. This was the story to tell because of my sons, man. I have two boys. My oldest is 17, my youngest is 15, and my 17-year-old is going off to college next year. And his whole life, I'd been telling him, I'll tell you a little bit more about my past. I'll tell you a little bit more. I'll tell you a little bit more when you're older. Well, he's definitely old enough now. And so I felt like this was the perfect time to sit down and start writing. So it didn't initially start as a script. It started as me trying to figure out how to tell my boys about their dad. And I would wake up in the morning about 5 o'clock. I would start writing, and then I'd go to the studio and I would listen to what I wrote. I have this app on my phone that allows me to listen to what I write. And while I was listening, I'd start sketching and drawing. And so all of the script became painting at the same time. So when I was done, I had a whole narrative, and then I had a whole series of paintings as well. By the way, those paintings are on view in Beverly Hills at Gagosian Gallery up until November 2nd, if you happen to be around.
Awesome. Thank you. And how much of this for you, how much of the film is autobiographical, if any?
So much of the film is autobiographical. You know, once you take it from that narrative, that personal story, and you put it in script form, a bunch of things change. My mother, thank God, is still alive. It's my grandmother who passed. The character in the film is a conflation of my mother and my grandmother because they were both pushing me towards this idea of forgiveness. I stepped on that nail before I got to the dump, not at the dump. The scene that happens upstairs happens in my studio, not at the gallery. So there are little things like that. The character of the wife is very different. But there are things like that that are different. But fundamentally, the truth of the narrative, that is based on my story.
And, you know, it's so brave of you. I did a series of shows called Oprah's Life Class with Oprah, and told my story about my father who had left before I was born. And so, you know, it while it's very different in many ways, our stories in that regard, there's also so many similarities. And fatherlessness in many ways, whether it's a completely absent father from the gate or an absent father for chunks of time or whatever, fatherlessness is such a epidemic in this country. And it's always, for me, it was important as a man to tell that story. And I think it's so brave of you. And it's brave of anybody to tell their story, but particularly as a man when it relates to your father, and we're dealing with this epidemic of fatherlessness, particularly from boys, and particularly in the Black community. It is vital that we have strong, positive people that are brave enough to go and say, this is who I am and this is what happened to me. And I'm learning from it and making, changing those behaviors for that I could see, or patterns or whatever, in myself, so it's better for my children. You know?
I mean, that's the whole point right there, man. You said it right there. I feel like for me, it was about the next generation. It was about my kids, about making sure that I was not passing on these same kind of burdens to them. It's a story that is heavy sometimes. I'm not going to lie. It is heavy sometimes. But ultimately, this is a film about healing. And I think that healing comes through our children, comes through in this film. It comes through the strategy of making art and using that art and bringing the hope of that to the children. I wanted desperately to make sure that I didn't make the same mistakes that my father made. And what it took for me to come to that was recognizing that, in fact, my father was not a villain. My father was a victim of the circumstance that he was brought into, and his father was just as challenging to him. Writing this film and going through this process gave me a compassion for him that, frankly, I never had before. And the idea of forgiveness in this film is one that's different from what I had before, and probably different from what people think of when they generally think about forgiveness. This is not a story of forgiveness where we say to you, you give forgiveness and then enter back into a place of danger where this person could hurt you in this way again. It's not that. It's not that. I've watched so many people, particularly my mother and my grandmother, my aunties, go back into situations, give forgiveness, and end up in the exact same situation again. In this film, what we're talking about is a kind of forgiveness that allows you to be able to release your burdens, to be able to put the stuff that you're carrying down so that you can move into your own future. And that may mean I say, I forgive you. I release you of whatever debt that you have. But I'm going this direction, and it seems to me that you're going that direction, and that is okay.
Wow, that's so powerful. Thank you for that. And, I do think as you're saying that, it makes me realize that forgiveness does not at all have to mean things are back to normal, or we're amazing and we're going to hang out, or I'm going to call you every day or anything. As you're saying,
I want to speak to that for just a second, because I think there is this notion of forgiving and forgetting, and I think it's dangerous. And the reason I think it's dangerous is because what we do is we tell victims to pretend like it never happened. Just forget it. And I don't think that is actually healing. That is just pretending. I don't think that forgiveness has to mean that you have forgotten. If you have completely forgotten, then how are you going to learn that life lesson? You have to remember some aspects of it so you do not repeat the situation again in the future. I am not an advocate of the idea that we just forgive and forget and then we go have a beer. There are situations where that's the right context, but not in every context. And as the person who is harmed, it is your choice as to how you go about that process.
Yes, that's so powerful. And more of us need to remember that, not just with huge, heavy issues like a father or a mother, but toxic friendships or relationships or work or whatever.
God. So my friend Christian A. Smith, he says, forgiveness requires a renegotiation of boundaries. And that doesn't have to be with a father, or that could be with a friend. I can say, I forgive you and unfriend you. I can say, I forgive you and we still need to break up. I can say, I forgive you, but I'm going this way. And as I said, seems like you're going that way, and that's okay. That's not what we talk about. We find ourselves pushed into these situations where we're like, I must forgive this person. I must forgive this person. And the reason that that's difficult is because what we're saying to ourselves is, I got to pretend like this thing that actually was harming, that did damage to me, I got to pretend like it didn't actually happen. That's the only way that I can be back in relationship. I don't think that's the right way to do it. I really don't.
I that's perfectly said. It's interesting to me that for somebody like you or myself, that particularly with the father angle, there's this inherent desire, at least for me, that you want that father in your life. You want him to be there. And I had to get to a place that I learned with Miss Oprah and Miss Iyanla that it was never about me. It was never an intentional decision on his part to say, I'm going to hurt this sperm, because I wasn't even born yet, Right. It was, as you're saying, a victim of his own circumstances, that he was unable to be there. And it seems very much similar to you, in that he had so many of his own demons and things that he was suffering from, that it wasn't, saying, Titus, I'm going to intentionally hurt you. It was, he didn't know any better and was trying to survive.
But I think you're dead on with that. I think that we live this life, and for those of us who have gone through this issue of fatherlessness, sometimes God, the universe, circumstance, or coincidence brings into your life a kind of figure that is not your father, but there to help you learn some of those lessons. You got to keep yourself open to that. You got to pay attention to that. If you're so stuck in just trying to get that, what was ultimately a toxic relationship back, or some version of that back, you're not going to be open to these moments of healing that are being sent to you through new individuals that enter into your life. It's just not going to happen. So, I hope that the film brings people into a space where they can have conversations about this thing. This is not one of those kinds of movies that you kind of watch and forget. It's just not going to be that. This is the thing that people have said to me. The other thing that has been wonderful about this film is it has been people from all walks of life who have come up to me after and said, man, that's my story too. Black, white, whatever. That's my story too. My father was the same way, or my mother was the same way. I hope that in a moment where in the world it feels like, people are divided and not coming together, maybe just for a couple hours, we can come together around this idea of forgiveness.
Titus, thank you. I could talk to you all day. You're an amazing creator, and I can't wait for everybody to see the film. It's so incredible.
So good to talk to you.
Thank you, brother.
Talk to you soon.
All right.
Titus Kaphar, just a genius. He's just a genius, and there's not much more to say about that. I can't wait to see what he's going to be doing next, because I'll certainly be following it. All right, next up, Andra Day, who, another one. She is a Grammy Award winner, an Emmy Award winner, a Golden Globe Award winner, nominated for an Academy Award. She wrote and sang the song Rise Up and I Rise Up. So, that song is just an anthem. But she also acts. She starred as Billie Holiday in the United States' first Billie Holiday. You may have seen her recently in the Netflix original, the Lee Daniels film, The Deliverance, with Monique and Glenn Close and Omar Epps, Octavia Spencer. She was awesome in that, and she is really, really, really awesome in exhibiting forgiveness. So let's get into it. My interview with the one and only Andra Day.
Thank you so much for speaking with me. I really appreciate it.
Hi, thank you so much. Hi, Kyle. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Congratulations on the film.
Thank you so much.
Of course, it is so powerful, so moving. I really am like a huge cheerleader for this film because it just spoke to me and left me thinking, a lot about it. Yeah.
Good.
And I feel like so much art today is made to be disposable, or made for you to go see it and then you go see the sequel and then you buy the merch and all that. And oftentimes I feel that we lose sight of art itself. And so this is such a powerful film for me, and Titus and Andra, all of you have done such an incredible job with it. What drew you to making this?
I think probably the same thing that moved you when you saw it. I think that's how I felt when I read the script. First, what drew me to it was Titus Kaphar's name on the front of the script. I was like, what? I'm a huge fan of his work as a painter, and so I was very excited to see him delving into film. And then I read the script, and I knew from reading it that it was personal. I knew just because it was so visceral. You know what I mean? And I knew I didn't care if I was a janitor for 10 seconds in this movie. I was like, I want to be a part of this film. So, so I think that's what drew me. And then just the theme of forgiveness. I think the real examination of forgiveness. This movie is not like, all right, I'm sorry. Okay, I forgive you. And we're over it. You know what I mean? Listen, there's still stuff even at the end of the film that maybe feels a little unresolved or feels, because forgiveness is a process. It's a work. And I love that it examines that truly and says that it's a hard fought battle and it's a choice you kind of have to make every day. And it's a scary thing,
Yeah. I was talking to Titus about the film, and him and I have similar, I have my own fatherless story. It's different to his, but similar.
Similar.
And he and I were talking, and he kind of said this thing that just wowed me, and that was we always, especially fatherless men, fatherless boys, always seem to make the father the supervillain, often for our own for our whole lives.
Right, for sure.
And what he learned for him was that he wasn't a villain.
Right.
He was a flawed human that was doing the best he thought he could with what he knew and what he thought he had.
Right. And to a degree, when you look at the film and you look at Laurent's character, also when you think about the crack epidemic, if that was the particular thing that took your father or your parent from you, they were also, as hard as it is to admit, they were also kind of a victim as well, too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is of circumstance. I know that everyone makes their own choices, but that took a lot of people, you know what I'm saying, out of particularly the Black and brown community. And so, it's hard. I think it's even harder to look at that person as, sort of a victim of circumstance and their own choices. But yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What have you learned about forgiveness from the film, from working on the film, and what does forgiveness mean to you?
Well, forgiveness for me, my perspective may be a little different from some people's, because my forgiveness is intrinsic to my faith. And so, forgiveness for me is something that is from God and that is of God and that has been, given to me, and that I am, because I love God, I am to extend forgiveness to everyone. You know what I mean? And I think there is a misconception that forgiveness means that everything someone did to you is all of a sudden okay. It's okay, they're off the hook there or whatever, which is not the case. It's not saying that it's okay, but what it is saying is that I am freeing myself, you know what I mean, and you, of the burden of carrying this weight anymore, of carrying resentment, of carrying those things. And because, unforgiveness can lie to us and make us feel like it's a refuge when really it's a prison, And so forgiveness to me is that. And also, but this movie did help me to understand that, it's not just something you do and you get over the next day. It is a process, and it's a very hard fought battle. And it is a choice that you have to make every day, even when you don't feel like forgiving. If you're waiting for the moment that I feel like forgiving, it may never come, but you still have to forgive, So making the choice to do that, I think is more important than having the feeling of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I love that. And for you, I did a number of episodes of Oprah's Life Class with Oprah on
amazing.
On fatherlessness, fatherless sons, and she changed my life. And but one of the things that I learned from that was that fatherlessness is an epidemic, particularly with boys, and particularly with Black and brown boys. And, so as we, as communities, as a community, try to change that, the fact is that, that oftentimes it is my mom, my grandmother, my uncles, that have helped me to get through, that which I felt this massive loss for. In the film, you are a support system, in the way that you can be. Is that something that you have drawn from your own life, that you have supported a boy or a man or whatever in their, because it's hard enough for women, but
I was like, yes, I've drawn from real life.
Right.
All women, particularly Black and brown women, draw from real life. We're like, yes. Have we supported a boy or a man? Yes, we have.
Exactly. And I, so I wonder how much of that from your own life is in her.
Yeah. It's absolutely, I just think that to be honest with you, that was almost the easiest point to find my way into, you know what I mean? Because into her character, because we do know what that's like. And to be honest with you, as women, we often know what it's like to put yourself on the back burner for a man's career, for his desires, for his trauma, for his pain, for his fatherlessness. Even as women, for us to put our own fatherlessness on the back burner for, you know what I mean? So she's absolutely a support system. And that was definitely something I was able to a way I was able to enter into her. And I think, but what I love about her character is she supported him. We are taught, you support unequivocally, you support without question, you put all of your dreams on the shelf. You don't think about da-da-da. And in a lot of ways, we've all done that, and we've been taught that. But in a lot of ways, that can actually be harmful and have an sort of antithetical effect to loving someone and to supporting them. What I love about Aisha's character is it's one of the rare times you see that she supports and loves him by being there for him, by, making adjustments, compromising, but she also supports him by being uncompromising and by being unwavering in her dream and her life. She loves and supports him by loving and supporting herself. And I think it's very important because she has understood now, because she comes from a similar background to Terrell, she understands that she cannot pour from an empty cup. And so I love the moments in the movie where he reminds her and she reminds him, it is my turn. We established this, because I think we always adjust to sort of these tempestuous environments without realizing that sometimes when we do that, we lose the anchor that keeps us moving forward. You know what I mean? And so we're floating, we don't realize it. So she does this amazing thing where she loves him in that way, but she also loves him by telling him no. She also loves him by saying, I'm going to keep us adhering to the promises we made each other in this marriage. And I think that's really important. I love that about her character and their dynamic in general.
Yeah, I love it. I love your work in it. I can't wait. Like I said, I'm going to be screaming from the rooftops for everybody to see Exhibiting Forgiveness. Thank you so much, Andra. It's a joy to talk to you.
Thank you. Same. Bless you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Take care.
Andra Day, love her voice, love her art, and love her role in Exhibiting Forgiveness. She's just a triumph, and I can't wait. This is going to win all the awards, I'm telling you. All right, last but not least, we have the heart, really, of Exhibiting Forgiveness. André Holland as Terrell and John Earl Jelks as LaRon. John Earl Jelks has mostly worked in theater, an extremely well-known theatrical actor. He has been nominated for a Tony Award as Best Actor. He has a very long list of awards that he's won for his acting. He's also been in some film or two. He was in A Miracle at St. Anna from Spike Lee, Season 3 of True Detective on HBO, and he has a recurring role in Showtime's On Becoming a God in Central Florida. I really hope that this is the role, I believe it is the role, that John Earl Jelks is nominated for and wins an Oscar. He deserves it. And then André Holland is widely known for his performance as Kevin in Moonlight, the Academy Award-winning film. He also played Matt Miller in American Horror Story Roanoke, which I loved. He was in Selma, which, I was in Selma. He's been on stage, on screen, and in our lives, and he's incredible. I've been using that word a lot, but it is the word. So here it is, my interview with André Holland and John Earl Jelks.
Thank you so much, André and John, for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Thanks. We're happy to be here.
Thank you. First of all, congratulations on the film. It is incredibly powerful. It is so deep and layered and really stays with you in a way that not many films today, I don't think, do. What is it that drew you both to the film? André, did you want to start?
Script, man. The script was outstanding. In the very first draft I read, I was like, man, this is special. And it only got better from there. I would say that the chance to work with such brilliant artists like John, Ingenue, Andra, Titus, the cast is so stacked, it was an amazing experience. So I would say those two things for me made it really easy to say yes.
And how about you, John?
I totally agree with that. And to be able to work with such a brilliant artist and Titus, I mean, his artwork speaks for itself. So I just had to know, well, I knew from just reading it, this is going to be a pretty special piece of work because there's so much truth in everything that he was saying on, in the script. So, yeah, that's what drew me to it, being able to read it and know who he was and then work with, like André said, these brilliant actors. I mean, like, what is not to want to be a part of something like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I was just speaking with Titus, and him and I were discussing how much of himself is in this story and in this work. I wondered, it made me wonder for both of you, how much of André, how much of John are in these characters?
I'll say that I think a lot. I feel like when you approach a role like this, but really any role, I think you got to offer yourself to it. If you're gonna be honest, there's the character on the page, and then there's the person, the human, the actor. And over the course of time, the rehearsal process, those two things kind of come together. And so when I watch the movie now, I understand that I'm playing a character, but also like I offered a lot of myself to it. Is that how you think about it?
I do, and to add on to that is that I believe that I actually stole a lot. But what I mean by stole, I inherited in another way. That was my grandfather, my father, and now me. Even if it was the me that I'm trying to correct from those two. I was able to do that. And like you said, as an actor, we play a character, but at the same time, I got a chance to take from some other places. And I just took strictly from the book, my grandfather and my father.
That's so powerful. And I love that you say that because, as Titus and I were talking, we were discussing our, my own fatherlessness, his fatherlessness, and two different kind of versions of that. But he said something that was so like an aha moment for me, where he said, they're not always the supervillains that we've made them out to be. Where for my father, who had left when my mom got pregnant, and then chose, not to be around. I had always made him out to be this, horrible person. And how can you do that? And the bottom line is that no matter what he is as a person, he is still a person and was dealing with his own issues and was living life how he was equipped to do it. You know what I'm saying? And as you say that, John, with you, there are, in this character, there is people that and it just struck me about these, these supervillains, that they are not. They're human just like us, no matter what choices they've made. Did you find any healing in playing Laurent?
Not only did I find healing, I got a chance to find out, well, not so much find out, but got a chance to see if my grandfather or my father was able to articulate what Titus had put inside of that film. That's what they would have said.
Wow.
That's what they probably would have done. They would have became a better version of themselves. But once again, they wasn't equipped to do that. They only passed down what they knew.
Right.
And what they didn't know, like my father used to always tell me, I don't know what to tell you. So if they don't know what to tell you, you got to try to figure it out on your own.
Yeah. Yeah. And how about for you, André? Was there people in your life that you were able to draw from for this? Or was this you, diving in as an artist completely?
It's both. Yeah, it was both. I mean, there are definitely places where I borrowed from the relationship with my dad and with my mom, other places where I had to imagine, like being a father, for instance. I'm not a father, so I had to, make some imaginative leaps to think about what that might be like. But that's the magic of it, right? You take what you know and you put a little bit of that with what you don't know and mix it all up together in a stew, and then somehow it you create a character. So I'm glad you dug it, man.
It really, truly is an incredible piece of art. And for both of you, what do you hope that somebody takes? Because like I said, for me, I just don't think this is kind of one of those, I'm a huge Deadpool and Wolverine fan, I love those kinds of movies, but it's not something that, is created to make you think and really kind of, this film is truly art and has stuck with me. What do you hope a viewer takes when they leave watching it?
I mean, I think that I hope that people consider what forgiveness means to them in like a different way. I certainly have reframed my understanding of what it means to forgive. And if there are conversations that people need to have with folks while they have time, then I think that, I hope the movie inspires them to do that. And also, I hope that people run to see this movie and that they pack the theaters and continue to pack the theaters because, I also understand what you mean when you say Deadpool and Wolverine, great movies, like a lot of fun. But I think sometimes Hollywood doesn't believe that movies like these, can like be successful, and are worth doing and are worth investing in. So I hope that, your audience and audiences all over the world will come and see the movie and support it so that we can keep making art like this.
Absolutely.
To add on to that, I appreciate what, you're doing and people like yourselves are spreading the word because it takes that, you've seen it and you know what it is to go and tell other people to go see it. And you said it earlier, and hopefully that will inspire someone else to maybe tell their own version or their own story or something similar. Because once again, like you said, Hollywood's not going to get behind movies like that necessarily.
Yeah.
But if we show that these stories need to be told, they need to be seen, you never know. The next one, and then the next one, and the next one, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And also, forgiveness may not be what it looks like to everybody. It's different for everyone.
Mm. I love that. I'm a huge champion for this film. I'll be screaming it from the rooftops, exhibiting forgiveness. Thank you both so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Right.
Thanks.
André Holland and John Earl Jelks exhibiting forgiveness. You have to see it. I'm telling you. It premiered at Sundance in January and is out in a limited theatrical run beginning today, October 18th. Well, I guess it depends on when you're listening to it, but either way, it's out in a limited theatrical run. You need to do yourself a favor and see this film. It is going to be nominated for everything, and it deserves it because it's really, really that good. I'm telling you. I cried, I laughed, I smiled, I felt. Do yourself a favor. See Exhibiting Forgiveness right now and watch Hysteria. I want to know what you think about both of them. Hit me up on socials. You know where to find me, Pop Culture Weekly or at KMac Music or Kyle McMahon, whatever it is. Find me. Let me know if you're listening to the show on the iHeartRadio app. You can use the talkback button, and it sends me your voice message right to my email box, and you might just be featured on the show. All right, I will see you next week. I love ya. We out.
Thank you for listening to Pop Culture Weekly. Hear all the latest at popcultureweekly.com.
Hysteria, hysteria, hysteria.